Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
From the modern confines of the Hockenheim Ring to the old-school, fast-flowing nature of Oulton Park International with no chicanes, that's where we find ourselves here today in the penultimate round for the Radical Racing Challenge here on Apex Racing TV. Hello, everyone. My name is DJ Clark, joined here in the commentary booth by Andy Thompson with our director and producer, Jamie Fluke, behind the scenes. And, Andy, this is going to be a fantastic race to watch. These Radicals, a little bit tricky to control around one of the most challenging circuits on iRacing.
Yeah, good evening, DJ. Good evening, viewers. Yeah, Oulton Park, probably one of my favourite tracks on iRacing. Really good track to drive in, whatever car may be going around this circuit. But obviously tonight we've got the brand new SR10. 425 brake horsepower, 380 pounds-feet, the Ford EcoBoost turbo engine in the car. It's a very tricky car. I actually bought the car today and did a race earlier on around this track, and wow, it was such a handful to manage, certainly off the line. I mean, I did quite well in qualifying. I got into 4th place overall, but trying to get the car off the line, I think I spun it around. So you'll see tonight these drivers probably make the car look extremely easy, but nothing could be further than the truth. The car is really understeery until them tires really get up to temperature. The acceleration really snaps on this car as well, so you probably find some of the cars maybe squirreling a little bit out of the corner. So it's really feathering the throttle, making sure you get that good exit out of the corner, but going into corners you've got to brake a little bit early to get this beast of a car actually turned in. So it's very much a handful for these drivers to manage, and it's going to be a really interesting race.
Yes, it most certainly will be, as we ride on board right now with Kane Halliburton here, bringing the car down through Cascades. We talked about this a little bit before the broadcast, Andy, but definitely some understeer that you're going to be fighting early on in this car, early on in the laps. It looks like certainly here, that is what they are fighting with right now, as there you see going down through Island Bend, a little bit of that understeer coming through, and then probably once we get into the race, then at the latter stages of it, we're going to have to deal with some pretty heavy snap oversteer as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be an interesting race. There's some real difference in undulation of the corners as well around this track. You know, you've got the Shell Oil corner, which is a really tricky bend. Turn number 1 is actually a quite tricky one, and turn 3 coming down into Cascades, you know, quite fast corners in these cars. So it's going to be a certainly challenge for these drivers to get the car around in this race in one piece.
Yes, it certainly will, as we are about halfway down here in qualifying right now. Leading the way is Rudolf Nagel, as we've got a couple of drivers working their way up to the top of the charts. It looks like Blanco's going to be able to put down a P2. Let's see what Halliburton has right now, as Alcaron and Kopernetsky there round out your top four. And to the surprise of nobody, that is going to be Kane Halliburton up into the top position there by a whopping 0.4 of a second.
Yeah, definitely is. Certainly got the grips of this car, says Halliburton there. You know, a 119.07. Probably put into perspective of normal people on this car. I think I was doing a 121, 122 around here. So it's certainly a very quick lap there from Halliburton. But a lot of the other drivers extremely close to the top 7 there within a second of that time. So it's going to be an interesting race when we get into it. So we're already 4 minutes 56 into this 10-minute qualifying session here, and I wonder if anybody can get in front of Halliburton for that pole position. But the race is not over. Like I said, you know, getting off the line, it's going to be a hectic occurrence when we see all these drivers, probably a lot of them wheel spinning, so you just got to control that off the line.
Yeah, you've got to control that, and you've got to be a little bit careful. Here will be a standing start for these drivers as we now watch Ortalovs working his way across the line. Looks like that's not going to be an improvement, but it is going to be a very, very big improvement for Marcos Kornevsky there, as that is going to be him all the way up into P3, only about 1/10 of a second off of Nagel, as there is Halliburton putting in an even better time.
He said, well, 0.4 of a second was too close. I'll put it up to 0.9 of a second, nearly a second ahead of second place. So Halliburton's certainly on fire in this new SR10 around here. I mean, it's just such a great track layout, this. I mean, you can see here as we watch on screen just the different undulation as they come over the start finish. This first corner, very tricky in this car, down to probably around 3rd gear, 4th gear, just trying to use all the corner on the outside of turn number 1 before you come down through Denton's. A little kink here, that's actually called a turn before we come to Cascade. So it's normally a 4th gear around here, really hugging that inside corner. And look, as you see there, I'm only using the maximum width coming down here the lakeside. Island Bend's a 5th corner. Literally, it's all about being brave around here, trying to cut that inside before slamming on the anchors down to 2nd gear around Shell Oil corner. This is a corner where they'll probably see a lot of cars putting a lot of power down. You can see or hear the wheels at the back screaming at you as that power from that EcoBoost engine coming over here, up over the hilltop, very fast straight down to around about 5th, coming into 6th gear as we come down to Knickerbrook. 4th gear, really fast, hugging that inside corner. Really don't want to be clattering that inside corner too much before coming up into Clay Hill and down to the world famous Druids corner here, the double right-handed corner. Really got to hug that inside to maximize the speed coming out here in down the straight under Warwick Bridge down to Lodge corner, the last corner. Very tricky. We might see a few cars spinning around here, certainly if there's a lot of fighting before we go up over the leap over and finish a lap there. So you can sort of see the different undulations, DJ, of this track. It's just a fantastic track to drive around. I know it's a bit of Marmite track, I think. Some people love it, some people hate it, but I'm certainly one of the Marmite lovers around this track.
Well, I certainly have never been able to get it right, but I will tell you that I absolutely love watching races here at this track. As you said, the undulation up and down over the track as we watch Alarcon there working his way around down through that back half of the circuit right now, trying to see what he is able to get out of it. And I think in these radicals, it's going to be a real challenge and a real fun time, as there comes the checkered flag for qualifying, and we are ready to walk you through the starting grid here today. It's going to be Kane Halliburton ahead of Rudolf Nagel there in the front row. It's going to be Markovs Kornevich there in P3, followed by Rafael Blanco with Gary Truby and Cedric Krolch there in P6. P7 is going to be Marcos Alarcon, followed by David Presley with Matic Kopernetsky in P9, and then Nicholas LaPlanche in P10. Ash Kendall will be 11th, followed by Damian Gee with Christian Binder Geiger and Merrick's Ortlovs there in P14. Then it's going to be Andreas Freidich there in P15, James McIntosh, Rafael Peone, Callum McIntyre, and Gabor Kolzi that are going to round out your 19-car grid. We are ready to get going around here, just waiting for a couple of drivers to be able to filter their way onto the grid, including your pole sitter there, Kane Halliburton, as everybody gets themselves ready to go.
Yeah, it definitely is. It'll be a great camera angle, that one, to look at the race. So you probably see the plumes of smoke coming from the rear wheels as they try to get this car under power and make sure they get a clean getaway without doing lots of wheel spin. Obviously, a dual clutch is really advantageous in your setup if you got it. So it's going to probably see the ones that haven't got that dual clutch system set up with a struggle off the line. But as soon as these cars get up off the line and get up to speed, they are so much fun to drive.
Yes, they will, as we're just waiting for two more drivers here before we are ready for the drop of the green flag. All adrenaline, all emotion starting to come into these drivers, them trying to put it at bay and just focus on what we've got to do here in the running, as there is Gabor in the back of the field. That looks like it's going to be leading for just one more car here. Damian Gee, the number 14, the last driver that we're waiting for, as the lights begin to come on here. 4, 5, and there goes the green. It's a good getaway there for Halliburton. Looks like P2 is going to slot in behind them. Marco's trying to see what he is able to do as they go down into turn 1. A little bit of side-by-side action through the majority of the field. Everybody running themselves perfectly, and that's an accident for P1 and P2.
Yeah, definitely was coming through out of turn 1. Very treacherous part on this first lap. We see a lot of the cars coming off track through Dentons there, coming down into Cascades. But yeah, first casualty there. Kowalski in 18th position, down 12 positions from where he actually started. So he's not. There was a car there that was actually stranded on the grid that didn't get moving. So hopefully he got moving, and one of the positions wasn't taken up on the grids. So a couple of incidents at the start, even before we got this race underway, but we're now well and truly into the lap 1, coming over Hilltop, a prime spot coming down here to try the undercut overtake, but very treacherous, as you see side by side here coming through Knickerbrook. Their cars going out wide, get pushed out. So and we got a spinner there. That's Truby there in 15th, going down the order.
Yes, indeed. The British driver there having a little bit of an off. It looked like just understeered wide there going down through Knickerbrook. Meanwhile, further up in the field, we've got a little bit of side-by-side here between Blanco and Kopernicki as they try to sort themselves out here. I think they've been side-by-side for the majority of this lap, and that is finally going to be Blanco able to get himself ahead. But don't look now, LaPlanche trying to make a few moves there in the number 4.
Yeah, definitely is. I mean, look at the time there from Halliburton on that first lap, near over a second ahead of second place, and has a 1.3 second cushion. So certainly at the moment the battle is further down in the field for third place. It's extremely close as we're currently watching Rafael Pononi there in 12th position. All these cars extremely close in the mid-pack field, so any sort of slight mistake by one of the drivers could cause a big incident out on field. But this is the top split, so I'm expecting these drivers to be a little more accommodating maybe than the lower splits.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you there on that, as they now fly their way up and over Hilltop right now. One of those great undulations on the circuit as we continue to watch here. This is LaPlanche leading the way in that P4, able to get the good move done on Kopernicki on that last round around the lap. Waiting to see here if Kopernicki's going to be able to get a little bit of a move here going into Druids. Not going to be able to do it, but he's got to watch out from behind. And the number 8, Kendall, looking pretty aggressive.
Yeah, there's a big gaggle of cars there. Kopernicki, Kendall, Frederick, and Binder all close together, and then not far back from that, you've got Pallone, Ortiz, and Galvão there in 14th is very close. So this is an extremely close battle from 8th all the way down to 14th place at the moment. So these drivers out on track, just following each other. Currently started the third lap here of 21, so still plenty of racing to go in this race. But Halliburton at the front of this field is absolutely destroying it at the moment. 2.5 seconds after 2 laps of racing ahead of the second place Nigel there. He's just blowing the field apart at the moment.
Yeah, he certainly is. As there you just saw a move by Kendall in the number 8, able to get by Kopernicki. Looks like Ortlovs in the back has had a little bit of a problem. He's dropping down through the field. Oh, indeed, off into the grass there at the exit of Shell Oils.
Yeah, it's one of them places, like I said before, you know, you've really got to be tentative around that corner. If you put too much power on too early, then the back end really kicks out, and that corner is already banked, so that will just aid the car getting spun around. And there was a perfect example of probably putting too much power on the outside, but watching Kopernicki here getting under a lot of pressure from Frederick behind in 10th place. So he's now not looking in front of him, he's looking to try and defend that position behind, and that may give Kendall the opportunity. As we watch here, Frederick's looking up the inside here down into Lodge Corner. Did thought the better of it, because we've seen plenty of incidents with car going side by side through Lodge Corner and getting it completely wrong, you know, with that downhill section straight after the corner. So Frederick just backs off a little bit there to come back again, but certainly seems to have the pace on Kopernicki at the moment for that P9 position. But yeah, these 4 drivers at the moment are having a really good battle out on track.
Yeah, having a very, very good battle. And let's look here at Kopernicki and remind ourselves that the way the numbering system here works in an official race like this is your number represents how high your I rating is. So Halliburton leading the way here with an I rating up in, I believe, the 7,000s. Kopernicki has the second lowest I rating in this field. And so for him to be fighting here up into the top 10, that is a very, very good day for Magic, and not entirely surprising that he probably finds himself under a little bit of pressure here.
No, definitely not. I mean, you got the seventh highest I rating just behind him there in 10th place, putting him under a lot of pressure. But at the moment is matching that pressure. But we currently join with Marcus Alcon there in 5th place overall. As we look back here, Frederick has really putting Kopernicki under a lot of pressure, managing to get that move done there. So he will now be probably trying to accelerate from Kopernicki and trying to get hold of Kendall just in front of him.
Yeah, and that's going to be that battle between the 8 and the 7th. The 8 and the 7 there as they move their way up. Kopernicki going to have to watch out from behind there. Christian Binder, I think, going to be interested in trying to get that pass done on him as well. But we continue to watch here up through the field. Alarcon right now trying to be able to close in on the back of Presley, trying to see if there's anything to be done. We're going to see a big move here down into Shell Oils. No, it looks like looking for a little bit of a crossover, maybe trying to carry some momentum there on the exit of the corner. Not going to play out as much as they would hope, and they've got to watch out a little bit. They do not want to let Kornisevich, they're up ahead, run away too far.
No, definitely not. You know, these cars are good on the slipstream. I did notice that while I was driving in the series. As we see there, Priestley going extremely wide there, coming around Knickerblock, getting onto the grass, losing the momentum, and giving a free pass there to Archon, who's gladly taken that 4th place over him. So Archon moves up, Priestley moves down to 5th place after a slight little mistake there through Knickerblock. As we see there, biggest Binder there, just well, basically binning it there in the corner, but I think there was a little bit of help by Panon there.
Yeah, I think there was as well. As we jump back to check out a replay here, riding on board with Christian Bender, trying to see if he's going to be able to get this done. This is going down here into Druids. I gotta say, that was a little bit of elbows out racing from Payone behind him.
It certainly was. He saw a gap. It was there. It got closed down, but unfortunately, I think he was already committed to the corner. An unfortunate slight little tap in the back end there. So that really puts Binder's race to a little bit of a halt. As you see there, he's currently in P16, so last on the grid. We have 3 drivers that are currently out in this. Trubili and Glee, who obviously didn't start this race. So we still have 16 drivers here, but currently on board with Frederick, who's managed to catch up with Kendall in 8th place. So this could be a really good battle between 7th and 8th I rating on here, so extremely close in that respect. So this should be a really good place to go. And behind, Kopernicki and Pallone is having a really good race as well. So you get these little pocket battles of 2 cars having some really good challenges out on track and racing.
Yes, you really do, as we've got these two couplets here forming up in the front of the field right now. Alarcon and Kornevich there with Presley and Blanco behind them. Going to be interesting to see here if Blanco and Kornevich are going to be able to close in, maybe get themselves past the drivers in front and be able to get a move done. Ooh, looks like something has happened to Kendall as he, oh no, it's just an internet connection issue, excuse me. He looks like he's blinking pretty heavily, dropping in and out of the server, but we continue to watch these battles right here, as this is Ash Kendall right now, able to hold LaPlanche behind him, but those internet issues, he's going to have to watch out. Does not want that to continue on, as that will definitely throw off his rivals.
Yeah, it certainly will. Frederick behind him. We'll see in the flashing car in front of us. There's nothing worse when you're racing out and seeing a disappearing car in front of you. But Kendall looks pretty. The internet connection looks pretty stable. Hasn't blinked for a little while, so may have just been a slight bit. But certainly under a lot of pressure there from Frederick. But we look further back in the field. Gabriel Kloski there in 13th place. Just losing a position there to McIntyre and Ortolov. So really I think he really gave them positions up coming out that. So that was a very strange move there to let these two drivers now watching on stream. Ortolovs and McIntyre there just taking 13th and 14th overall.
Yeah, I wonder there if he maybe picked up a slowdown that he had to give back, or if that was just a little bit of sportsmanship, recognizing that Gabriel was a little bit too quick. As oh, there McIntyre, or is that Ortlovs having a little bit of an off there in the 11? It was. That was an off track there, coming down through Druids. That understeer rather, pushing around here a little bit. We jump back here to the Battle of the Marcos between Alcaron and Kornevitz as they go. Trying to see, looks like Alarcon able to get a little bit of a better run going out of Cascades there through Lakeside and down into Island Bend and now into Shell Oils. But that number 12 continuing to lurk in the rear view mirror here, not letting him out of his sights.
No, it definitely was. I mean, you just saw connected just getting right onto the back of Alcon coming down into Cascades, but Alcon got a really good run through Cascades down the lakeside, which has given him a little bit of breathing space, but we see that gap sort of close up towards the end of the lap. So there's very much different parts of the track that these two drivers are faster at. But like you were saying, Priestley and Blanco there behind are really starting to catch up to these front two here in 3rd and 4th. So it's a battle for 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th at the moment as we watch Blanco just trying to make a move there on Presley, just putting his nose up the inside, just letting him know he is there. But these 4 cars are now going to be locked in a battle, coming into only 9 laps onto the 9th lap now, so only 8 laps done here, so still plenty of action to go.
Yeah, plenty of action to go in this 21-lap race, as now it looks like it is split up here into a nice little triplet with Kornevitz leading the way over Presley and Blanco. Alarcon able to pull away there a little bit. Oh, is Christian Binder having another problem in the back of the field?
Yeah, it definitely is. Not really been his day, so let's have a look what happened here. That sun is really good coming up to Lodge Corner here. Maybe just hampered his braking zone. Coming around this corner, the treachery of this corner, literally that downhill camber when it comes off, really can throw the car off. Managing to save it quite well and not go into the wall, so was able to continue on.
Able to continue on here as Presley finds himself in the meat, in the sandwich here between the number 12 and the number 6 as they work their way up and over Clay Hill, getting ready to dive down into Druids. Nobody looking like they want to poke their nose here just yet. I'm getting the sense that as we are about a 3rd down in this race here, that everybody just being very, very patient. Nobody waiting, and as soon as I say that, a little bit of a poke down to the inside for Presley, and that's going to open up an opportunity for Blanco here as they go over Deerleaf. He thought about it, decided not to go in it, but the Uruguayan now looking around, trying to see if he's going to be able to get anything, and no, as a result of that attack, he's actually going to fall back by about a car length and a half.
Yeah, it definitely is. These 3 playing a game of poker at the moment, but this is playing into Arcon's hand in 3rd place there. We see at the front of this group, just managing to stretch a little bit of a gap between these 3 drivers at the moment. So it's very much who's going to blink first. We saw Presley there just trying to make a move up into Lodge Corner, not quite managing to get it done. Lost a little bit of time, but then these 3 cars are pretty much back together again. So it's all about who makes that mistake and who can make that move into a corner to try and make the passing complete. But you've really got to watch, certainly if you're in the middle of that. So with Blanco there, Presley, he's really got to watch out for Blanco behind him. But as we join back with this battle here with Frederick and Kopenicki, Kopenicki just trying to look on the inside into Knickerbrook, not managing to get the move or get alongside into the corner. And these two are having a really good battle there for 8th and 9th place overall.
Yeah, they still are, as LaPlanche looks like he had a little bit of a problem up ahead, and I just saw that Presley has had a problem off and into the gravel and into the wall. There is the number 9, a very, very hard hit for him.
Yeah, it definitely is that front end of that car. I think that front left is what we can say stuck in there. Has he managed to get out? Yes, he has. Oh, and nearly impeded on another driver. So that was another incident through Lodge Corner there, and that's where we see him coming into the pits to effect a repair. So let's have a look on board. So coming out of the corner there of Druids down to the straight for the Lodge Corner, tries to make a move up on the inside. He just overcooked it. Unfortunately, couldn't get the car stopped. These cars are extremely hard to get stopped in a short distance, and unfortunately just carried on.
Yeah, just carry on there, and so that is going to be Presley back down to the pits, but the battle still continues here now between Blanco and Kornevich as they come down into the braking zone for Knickerbrook. Whoa, that was some brave stuff there from Blanco, and it's not done yet as Marcos looks to maybe have a little bit of a fight back here, trying to see if he's able to get anything on the number 6 fighting back, but he is going to have to give up the ghost as they come down through Druids.
Yeah, that was a great move there through Knickerbrook. It's very committed through there. You've got to be committed through that corner because you can easily quite use it. You're obviously relying again on the other driver, just giving you that space, realizing that the car behind does have the run of you. So there's a bit of mutual respect there to give it through to Blanco to get that passing move. Oh, we have a car off of the corner again. That's Gabor coming through. Where? That's Druids, isn't it? Yeah,
yes, it is. And let's go back to the replay here to find out exactly what happened. We ride on the roll hoop of the number 16 as let's see, lining it up down for the corner. Everything looks good here, gets onto the binders, and once again, just overcooks it.
Just good. The car just would not turn. You saw the steering input on the car. The car just would not turn around that corner, and that's probably one of the big characteristics of this SR10 is the fact that you get understeer at the start, then you start getting a little bit of oversteer, and then it creeps back into understeer towards the middle to the end of the race. So there, it's a perfect example of trying to come into the corner, just not getting it done, and the car just saying, no, thank you, I'm not turning, and go off. As we have another one in the background, that's Frederick. So that's put real pay to his battle with Kendall for that 7th place overall. So disaster for there coming through Knickerbrook.
Yeah, indeed, and it looks like there may be just another issue of that understeer coming back to bite. Some pretty heavy damage to the right-hand side of the car. You can see that wing bent in a little bit as well as on the side of the car, so some pretty hefty damage. Let's go back and check out the replay to see exactly what happened. Maybe a little bit just of target fixation coming down into the braking zone here. Gets onto the binders nice and early. Oh, no, he just clipped too much of the curb, and that sent him around.
Yeah, it took too much of that inside curve, which got the car off balance, and literally he was flying on 2 wheels, which the car's not going to turn, and unfortunately lost it out there. So that puts pay to that pad. So Kendall probably having a little bit of a breather now. He's probably thanking his lucky stars, obviously having in behind him for Frederick for the majority of this race. Just a little bit of breathing air, but out in front. I mean, what a commanding lead. 6.7 seconds, lap 13 of this race. Halliburton, it's just led from the off and literally, you know, got gained 1.2 seconds, 2.5 seconds, and it's just been going up from there. Now he's got a decent lead. He doesn't really need to push it, but I mean, some of the lap times he's putting in are phenomenal.
Yeah, really and truly is, and he really has nothing to worry about all the way around him. As we go back to check out a replay here of Kane, maybe a little bit of a problem here coming down into Denton's and down through. Ooh, caught a little bit of the grass. That lead he had was a little bit more, were it not for a little bit of a trick off through the gravel, and it really goes to show you that anybody can be caught out by this Oulton Park circuit, even Kane Halliburton.
They certainly can. You know, if you get offline for that cascade, it pushes you out on the exit. And we see a classic example there. You know, you're trying to stop the car to get yourself too much onto the grass, but I think, you know, as soon as you get that wrong line coming through cascades, that's when you lose it. So you really got to open up the corner on the right-hand side to be able to do it. And unfortunately, Kane just turned in a little bit too late, got a little bit of understeer, and then just went out wide on the grass, but still managed to save it. So only lost a little bit of time, but he certainly had seconds to spare as that gap goes up to, again, to 7.6 seconds now. So Miguel here in second place, who's pretty much out on his own as well. You know, these front two having it quite an easy time of it here in this race, but it's not the same story further back in the field as we watch here. McIntyre and Frederick we just saw there having a really good battle previous with Kendall in P7. Got slightly wrong coming down into this corner into Knickerbrook, but now has latched on to McIntyre to have, but oh, and he's done it again. He's just gone a little bit wide. He's absolutely hit that corner, and I won't be surprised if that car is toast.
Yes, indeed. I think that is a tow back to the pits there for the number 7, and that's exactly what it looks like there. So another one of our battles dissipating here at about the halfway point in the race, but that's going to be a little bit of an easier breathing time for James McIntosh, the RPM Racing number 15, able to continue on here, not going to have to worry about anybody behind him as he's got about 3-4 seconds back to Ortlov's.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a relatively new car. It only came out on this patch, so a lot of the drivers still probably getting to grips with how this car handles. Completely different to the SR8. Obviously, the difference in the engines. The SR8 are very much a throaty car. This new SR10 is a turbo-powered car. Oh, as we see here, Marco Ocon in third place is just come off in Knickerbrook, and he has lost that. He is now down to 5th place, so Blanco is promoted up to 3rd, and Kornecki is up to 4th as well. So a bit of a disaster there from Ocon, and that would have been self-induced because he wasn't under that much pressure behind.
No, he certainly was not. Taking a look here at the car, I'm not seeing a whole lot of damage to it, but let's go back and see exactly what happened. You can see there, running pretty much by himself. The car gets a little bit light coming over Hilltop, going down into Knickerbrook. Is it that dreaded oversteer? Yes, it is. Oh, a little bit of contact there with the outside wall. I think that may have kicked off the mirror there. And let's look here as he goes on by. Not seeing a whole lot of damage to the car, but obviously heavier damage on the left-hand side than the right. As there we'll get a shot as it comes on through. Not really able to see a whole lot. I think he was able to escape pretty scot-free on that.
Yeah, it definitely is. But the Punch in 6th place is now right onto the back of Ocon, and if there is any damage on that car, certainly will be affecting his aerodynamics going down these long straights. So it may give LaPlanche the emphasis to try and make an overtaking move here as we come down to Knickerbrook, getting extremely close, just backing out slightly, thinking better of it with the amount of cars that have come a cropper around that corner as we join back up here with Callum McIntyre in 12th position. He's having a bit of a battle from behind from Kolosky and Binder there in 14th as well. So these three having a battle over P12.
Yeah, and remember here, Binder on a massive recovery drive. He was fighting up in the top 10 and having a couple of bad incidents there, but that has sent him all the way back down here. Has a little bit of a look down to the inside of Kolosky as they go into Knickerbrook. That's not going to play out, and he's going to have to find a different time to get on by here, but time is starting to tick away. We are on lap 17 of 21, and so not all the time in the world for these drivers. Let's go ahead and check out a replay here. Callum McIntyre, remember, he had about a 3-4 second lead. This is going down into Cascades. Oh, that rear end of the car just stepping away from him, locks it down, able to get the car pointed back in the straight direction, but that is going to cost him a whole bucket load of time.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing about this car is that I think it's not mainly the battling with other drivers, it's between you and the car itself. This car just wants to kick out and bite you all the time, so you've really got to tame this beast. Really completely different games. I don't think there's any other car like it on the iRacing server that matches the ferocity that this car has. I mean, like I said, it's a brand new car, so it's going to be a little while before these drivers drivers can tame this beast, but even these top split drivers are still succumbing to the differences that this SR10 is giving over the SR8 in the previous older versions. But we're currently watching here Nicholas Lepage here, and he's managed to get past Archon here for that P5th position, so there must be slight damage there on Archon's car, who's going down the wrong way of the field, currently in P6.
Oh, and something's happened here to Peony as well, I believe. Or is that him just working his one by? No, excuse me, that is Maciek Kopernicki, who had a little bit of a problem finding himself dropping down through the order. Now, this would be coming up through Lodge or potentially Deer Leap. Let's watch what happens to the number 18. Comes down into the corner, looks like he gets it right, and then it just slow and lazy spin there as he keep it off of the wall. Yes, just barely.
Yeah, and there's Rafael Pony just going wide there on Lodge. So, I mean, that was a perfect example of that snap the car has coming around the corners. This is probably the worst track for it with that undulating surface, you know, certainly coming out of a corner, and then you've got a downhill section. If you really plant that throttle, you know, with the loss of grip coming over that lip, that's where the car sort of spins out on these drivers. So, really good combination of car and track to try and master for these drivers. But currently watching Ash Kendo up into 6th place, so he's managed to again pass Archon, who's really struggling at the moment. He was our 3rd place driver, had an incident coming through Nickelburg, and has just been going the wrong way down the field. There is a big gap now between himself and McIntosh in 8th place, but that's Lepage and Kendo being able to get past the driver there, the Archon.
No, and that's the number 13 of McIntyre, throwing it all the way, going through Druids, losing the rear end there. That is not the first time we have seen a car spin there at that portion of the track. Let's watch it here. Ooh, little bit of an internet connection issue as they work their way through the left-hander of Water Tower and down through the double apexer. It looks like that car just stepped out.
Yeah, the back end just gave up, and it continued on. So, you know, there was no incident behind. It was just literally a self-imposed spin. The car just got away from it and basically couldn't get it back. So unfortunately losing the position there. But Ash Kendo was really profiting from a lot of the incidents ahead of the field. He was further down the field, around about P10th. But he's up 5 places from where he started on the grid, so he's doing a great job here as Kendo does have Archon behind him, who's not giving up the chase at the moment, does have that slipstream effect, but that sun there coming down into Lodge has got to be affecting the drivers, certainly when you're trying to find that braking zone, which is normally the left-hander marker coming up to there, but that's really obscured by that low sunlight here. But Archon is really not letting Kendo get away from him at the moment, really wants that 6th position back.
Yeah, certainly does here. And with only 2 laps to go, the time is running out here for Marcos Alarcon, trying to see if he's able to get anything. Little bit of a snap of the rear end there as he worked his way through Cascades. Let's see if he's going to be able to get a little bit of a run here. Doesn't look like he's close enough, going through Island Bend and down now into Shell Oils. Later on to the binders, he's going to close it up a little bit, but is he able to keep that gap close as they exit the corner? Let's call it 2-3 car lengths in between.
Yeah, just there coming up over to the hilltop. Classic example of the greatness of this track, the different elevations here as they come down the other side through to Nickelbach. Just trying to clip that inside to maximize the speed here coming up through into Clay Hill, down into the Druids corner here. So it's at the moment Archon just putting a lot of pressure under Kendo, but not really being able to make that telling move or to get close enough to Kendall to make a difference. But Kendall still having them internet connections, so that's going to be really confusing there for Archon there just behind him. Trying to make that move with a blinking car in front of you is extremely difficult.
Yeah, it's always going to be very terrifying as the white flag flies here around Oulton Park. 1 more lap to go. 1 move for Alarcon to be able to get this move done as he tries to get there. You can see a little bit of a puff of brake smoke going down into the left-hander of Cascades. I get the sense he is pushing this car to every inch that he can, but that gap is growing here at this point, upwards of about 0.8 of a second.
Yeah, I just don't think he's got the speed in that car to make the pass and move. Trying everything he can, pushing the car to the absolute limits. But Kendall at the moment has got the measure of what Oulton can throw at him for this P6. But we're looking at Kane Halliburton. Not really talked about him at all in this race. Led from the start to finish and just extended his lead. Had a little incident coming down into Cascades, but apart from that, it's been a drive of perfection. 11 seconds ahead of the second place driver. I mean, that is just a masterclass from Halliburton. But there's Nagel coming over for a well-deserved, again, another pretty relatively easy race there for our second place driver. Same with the third. Rafael Blanco there coming over over in third. So the top four really spread out in this field after a lot of incidents earlier on.
Yeah, they certainly did as we watched LaPlanche coming across the line. Kendall able to hold out there over Alarcon. And now we follow James McIntosh, the Scottish driver here, coming around the final couple of corners here, working his way up and over Deerleap. And he will take the checkered flag out of 8th place. Behind him, it'll be Maciek Kopernicki as he comes across there in P9. And rounding out your top 10, it looks like it's going to be Raffaele Peone as he comes to the line and indeed will finish in 10th.
Yeah, just waiting for the last couple of driver autos there. Binder had a terrible race there, had quite a few incidents, and just watching Kolowski there coming over at the line in 13th place with quite a few retirees around this track. I mean, we said it at the start, a very technical track with a brand new car is always a good recipe for some high-octane action out on track.
Yeah, it certainly is. This car just absolutely on fire and one of the best cars to be able to see around here. This has been an absolute treat to call as we watch Kolowski coming through the final couple of runs now.
Yeah, it definitely is. And so here's your race results. Kane Halliburton with a commanding lead at the start, 10.6 seconds ahead of Rustov Negro there in second. Rafael Blanco in third, Marcus Coventi in fourth, Nicola Lampici in fifth. Ash Kendall managing to hold off the ever-charging Marcos Alarcon after an earlier issue for Marcos. In 8th place we have James McIntosh, 9th we have Matteo Kopernicki, in 10th place we have Rafael Peone, in 11th place we have Marquette Ortelas, in 12th Christian Binder, and our last finishing is Gabor Klaski with Callum McIntyre, Andrei Friedrich, David Presley, Cedric Kluski and Gary Truby not finishing this race here. I mean, it's such a great race around this track, and you know, it's always good to see new additions of new cars on iRacing, and this taking over from what was the historic SR8, very established car here on iRacing. It's always good to see iRacing keeping up with the latest models out in the real world, and obviously bringing this SR10 out onto the iRacing platform, and I'm pretty sure these drivers are enjoying the new challenges that the new car brings.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they are as well, and we've certainly been able to enjoy waiting to see all of them take to the track here today as we wait to see if we're going to be able to be joined by anybody here for the interview booth. But in the meantime, I do believe that we do have a little bit of expert analysis to be able to be given here by our own Jamie Fluke, who is not only our director and producer, but one of the hottest shoes here on iRacing. Jamie, what'd you think of the race?
Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. A lot going on there. I think it sort of played out sort of how we expected. I was actually a little bit surprised on the amount of slipstream that we had for that. Not much opportunity for the guys to break away from the pack that they were in. Halliburton obviously being last of the field. But yeah, not so many incidents off the start, and then as we kept going through, you guys were starting to struggle with the back end stepping out. Deeper into the race that we went, even Halliburton himself had a little bit of an issue coming down into the Cascade. So yeah, sort of as I'd kind of expected, but still entertaining nonetheless.
Well, and in terms of from a driving perspective, Jamie, what can you do knowing that you're going to be in a car that the rear end is going to be breaking away from you? What kind of options do you have to fight that as you go around the circuit?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things that you can do. So the first, what we have available in this series, so with it being a fixed setup, there isn't an awful lot you can do, but we thankfully have a brake bias adjustment. So if you're losing the rear a little bit on entry, moving the brake bias towards the front able to put more energy through the front tires and less through the rear. So if the rears are giving you trouble, then that's probably a smarter move. But also, knowing that the race, even though it's not the longest race in the world, it's long enough for these tires. So driving smart early on, conserving the energy that you got and saving the tires to the best of your ability is going to help you out later in the race. So as we've seen, not just this week but in previous weeks as well, mistakes do appear later in the race, so it's always a smart move to try and save your best for the end.
Well, and then I was looking ahead at the schedule, and let's just say next week is going to be very, very interesting as we head to the Nürburgring. Do you have any advice for these drivers as they head out to the Green Hell?
Yeah, good luck. Yeah, it's going to be a tricky one. So I guess what the car sort of lacks a little bit is front bite, especially early on. But on the Nürburgring Nordschleife, it's a grippier track surface than at most other places, so the front should bite into the corners quite well. So that should mean you don't feel the need to slam on the throttle to get the car to rotate earlier in a stint. So maybe we'll see fewer issues, but also it is the Green Hell. It's the toughest test on iRacing, and probably in World Motorsport as well. So it's not going to be easy for anyone. I would say just stay off the big high curbs and keep it on the black stuff, and a good result should come your way.
Well, we will have to see how drivers are able to cope with that. That race will be covered here live on Apex Racing TV the same time next week, next Friday indeed, so you are not going to want to miss that by any stretch of the imagination. And Andy, as we start to wrap up here, any final thoughts from you?
I mean, it's just such a great track with a great car combo. I mean, it's obviously going all the way up until Tuesday, so if anybody's watching and decides, yeah, let's have a go. I mean, like I said, I bought the car today and I absolutely loved it. It's a completely different drive to the GT3 cars that you have on iRacing or anything else very much similar. It's almost like a faster version of the Formula V out there. Maybe stepping on some people's toes, but I mean, that's what I sort of took away from it. The same understeer in the Vs as you have in these, but you certainly have a lot more power in these cars. So yeah, get the car yourself and have a go around this track. It's just such good fun, and I'm pretty sure that it's going to be a main staple in the iRacing series, and it'd be great to get a league going with these cars in it, and I'm sure it'd be a great spectacle.
It'll be a great spectacle indeed, and as we said, next Friday we'll be bringing you all of that action. But in the meantime, on behalf of myself, DJ Clark, Andy Thompson, as well as our director and producer, Jamie Fluke, it has been an absolute pleasure to bring you the action today for the Radicals Racing Series here on Apex Racing TV. And until we see you on the track, thanks for watching.